फिर क्या हुआ?
Now, if I can ask that gentleman, why is that restricted to the Hindu woman? Why can't the Muslim man adhere to the principles of the Hindu faith where he's marrying a Hindu woman? But he can't, you see, because these are principles, and this is where I say this. Time and again, we snare the fundamentalists, but we spare the fundamentals. There are two issues here, one of hijab and the other of coercion, where if you allow me, Rahul, I beg your indulgence, I would disagree with you a little bit. But on one, and I've said this before, that while hijab or a burqa may be considered an oppressive symbol of misogyny and patriarchy, Islam and the Holy Quran is very clear on how a woman should dress. I've said this before, 24:31 and 33:59. So every true Muslim woman has to adhere to this dress code. True Muslim woman also. Punishment for apostasy in Islam is death.
No.
So once you convert, like the Hindu lady did to Zara, I'm afraid you cannot return to your original faith. Islam, through Quran, completely condemns it, and hadiths have this capital punishment for apostasy. Now, for the second more pressing matter, Rahul, and if I may disagree with you a little bit, because love jihad is a reality. Impersonating someone else's religion for the purposes of entrapping a woman or coercing her to change her religion for the purposes of marriage or for living out peaceful married life are criminal offenses. For the leftists and the logically challenged, some of whom are in the studio right now, most often one and the same thing, the means do not justify the end, where the end is an interfaith marriage, which by itself is a wonderful thing. Now, you can bunch these three offenses under any phrase, love jihad or grooming jihad, it doesn't matter. What matters is, do these offenses happen? The answer is yes, by the hundreds, with alarming regularity. Swati Goel Sharma of Swarajya magazine and Befitting Facts have been meticulously collating all these instances. Now the church in Kerala is worried. The High Court was worried. So now you cannot just say that the Hindus are, this is a khayali pulao of the Hindus when the church comes in Christian. And for all those chauthi fails who cry this number is not enough out of all the interfaith marriages to merit a debate, well, they raise hell for months. Every time cow smuggling vigilantism occurs, rightly so. But discount its statistical normalization through more than 250,000 cattle transport trips pan-India every year. So when it suits them, even one incident merits an outrage. And here it suits them to ignore the hell a Hindu or a Christian woman goes through. But can I please begin with telling you that there are two issues here and we must delve into them one by one. Number one, on this lawyer, Mr. Dushyant Dave, arguing for the hijab to be allowed, honestly, he was as coherent as the Punjab Chief Minister about the Lufthansa flight yesterday. I didn't know that the Jodha Akbar Memorial WhatsApp University has started dispersing BA LLB degrees. He needs to be careful, because if his other clients heard his ridiculous support arguments, they will plead before the judge, my lord, हमने हमारे वकील साहब को सुना है, हम अपने आप ही अपना केस लड़ लेंगे, my lord, उनकी जरूरत नहीं है. Seriously, Navika, if I was hell, I would have advised him, Dave, the law may be an ass, but that is no reason for a lawyer to behave like one, Dave. I mean, Navika, where to begin? We are living in an age of wokeism, victimhood, selectivity and political correctness, and no one exemplified it as much as Dave did today. Has he been jabbed with an anti-vax vaccine instead of Covishield? Islam, he says, came to India without conquering. Really? Akbar, he says, was mellow. Really? The Ghazi of Chittor and the man who ordered non-hijab wearing women into prostitution was mellow. Sabrimala, he says, was discrimination. Really? There are many Hindu temples where men are barred entry, and there are many Sabrimala temples where women are allowed entry. It was only in this particular Sabrimala temple that because of the vow of the deity, menstruating women in a particular age bracket were not allowed on entry. And as for menstruating women, does he know that it is forbidden for a menstruating woman to touch Quran, recite a verse, enter mosque, do salat, perform tawaf, fast, have sex, 56, 79, 222 and Hadith Sharif? So are you going to redact all these verses? This man, Dushyant Dave, wants to liberate Hindu women. But cat gets his tongue when it comes to allowing entry of Muslim women into mosques or ordaining women as Catholic priests. Navika, very briefly, point number 2. I have said this before, that while hijab or a burqa is an oppressive symbol of misogyny or patriarchy, you may deem it, the holy book is very clear on how a woman should dress. Quote, and tell the believing women to reduce their vision and guard their private parts and to wrap their head covers over their chests and not expose their adornment except to their husbands, fathers, or males having no physical desire. 24:31 quote, O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers to bring down over themselves part of the outer garments that is more suitable, that they will be known and not be abused. 33:59.
Hello, Rahul, and hello to all my wonderful co-panelists. Rahul, we need to understand a few things. Number one, this is entirely in keeping with what has been sanctioned. And when I say we need to understand two things. And let me delve into them almost philosophically, because the fact of the matter is that the millions who poured onto the streets demanding Sartan se juda, for a century who poured on, not demanding exactly this slogan because it's quite recent, but for punishment for blasphemy. These millions are not mad. They are not terrorists. I'm sorry. Neither are they fanatics. They are simply following religious fundamentals. They are all law-abiding, Rahul. Their law is Sharia. The obvious question to ask here is there Islamic sanction for punishing blasphemy? And the answer is yes, there is. Let's start from Quran itself. Allah has specifically ordered that those who abuse Allah and His Messenger, Allah has cursed them in this world and the hereafter and prepared for them a humiliating punishment, 33:57. And that the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger, the exact crime that incidentally Ayatollah Khamenei accused Salman Rushdie of all those decades ago, is that they be killed 533. Now, for 1.8 billion Muslims, Allah's word is inviolable. Further, there are many who believe authoritatively in hadiths as well. So let me quote from Sahih Muslim Hadith 194436. Specifically, it quotes Prophet Muhammad as saying, quote, who will kill Ka'b Ashraf the poet? He has maligned Allah the Exalted as well as maligned His Messenger, unquote. So we need to understand, anyone who is perceived to have blasphemed will sooner or later meet the fate of Kamlesh Tiwari or Samuel Paty. And the fact of the matter is that moderate Muslims playing the victim card, as much as they always love to, the fact is they are the ones who are Islamophobic. I am not Islamophobic. I don't fear Islam. I am quoting Islam to you. What's wrong in that? They don't want to quote because they fear Islam. They fear to bring out the commandments of their holy book in their entirety, because they know the moment they do that, people will call them illiberal and hypocrites. So they end up condemning those who are pouring onto the streets. They end up branding them as radicals. All those who are faithfully following the fundamentals, those fellows on the streets must be thinking, Hamari kya galti hai bhai? Have you redacted 33:57? Have you redacted 533? Have you redacted Sahih Muslim Hadith? If you haven't, then what is the problem? We are following the fundamentals. So that is point number one. Point number two we need to understand is, as I say, this is patently illegal. Now, as a free speech absolutist, why do I say Gustakh-e Rasool ki ek hi sartan se juda should be illegal? Because the fact of the matter is, ultimately, rhetorically, I can ask you, there are dozens, if not hundreds of verses that are violently calling for the deaths, maiming, killing, persecution, crucifixion of kafirs and non-believers. 456, 40, 70, 8, 12, 22, 19, so many. But we haven't banned or redacted them. So why are we saying that this should be banned and illegal? The fact of the matter is that in a mob, when you chant this, and as a theoretical exercise, if you were to plant, let us say, an alleged blasphemer like Nupur or Raja Singh into that mob, can you tell me what will happen to those two people? They will be mercilessly lynched. So the fact of the matter is, this is an extra constitutional, extra judicial call to the believers to act according to the two verses that I have mentioned here.